there, this is my first little review thing. I'm going to be reading from a script, so it may be a little stinted, but practice makes perfect. So let's just get into it. As a little celebration for me completing Life is Strange, which was my first full playthrough on this channel, and might be a while before I complete another one, I thought I'd do a nice little sort of review where I talk about the issues that I had, the issues that I didn't have, and things that I really enjoyed. And yeah, other than a possible highlight reel, which probably won't happen because I don't think there's that many highlights on my playthrough, this will be the 30th and final video on Life is Strange until that sequel comes out someday soon, which I've been hearing a bit about, but different characters, so a bit weird, but I'm sure I'll love them just as much as I love Max and Chloe. Before I go any further, I guess I should probably say that there will be spoilers for like everything. Well, not everything, but most things from episode 1 to 5. And yeah, there'll be a few spoilers for paths that I didn't follow in the game as well, just for anybody who watched the playthrough and doesn't want to have another, like their playthrough if they choose to go on completely different routes from me, you know? I'm just going to get started with the good things that I liked, and then talk about the issues I've had. And I gotta say, like, visually, this game is just amazing to me. They bring so much, like, unique style to a 3D element. And I know it's literally just painting textures and putting them on top of models, but it looks really good to me. I really like how it looks. It's, like, weirdly nostalgic in some ways. Like, when you see how the animals are acting and how the trees and shit interact with one another and the wind. When you see, like, the animals hanging about, being cute and adorable, it just takes me, like, back to when I first played Okami. And it had that, like, really unique, interesting world that I really wanted to get more into. But enough of comparing this to Okami. It's just this really stylistically beautiful thing to look at. A proper piece of moving art. I've got like nothing negative to say really about how it looks visually. I mean, there's a few visual glitches, but that's not really fair to compare that to like how the game actually looks. Because anything that is beautiful can look bad with glitches, you know? Well, not anything, you can't really glitch a painting, that would just be wrecking it. But you know, any video game that is beautiful can look bad with glitches. The people who worked on this clearly cared a lot about putting this unique kind of 3D element to it. The sort of very broad brushstrokes. And then the very simplistic, like, menus on our phone and stuff. Like, everything has just been put in so much effort to make it look completely unique. To look at it and be like, oh well, it doesn't look perfect, but it definitely looks like Life is Strange. I'm also gonna like say a little like thumbs up, like maybe like a half thumbs up like that, like a weird little curled thumb up for their diversity. I mean, they're really, really, really ridiculously shy about using the sexuality terms, you know, like Chloe is either gay, bi, or pansexual. Or she could be like bi-romantic and asexual. No idea. But they completely skit around it because there's even conversations like where it would make sense for this to be brought up and they just don't. They don't like talk about it. Nobody asks her, even though it would make sense for Max to ask her. Especially when I was playing Max as like totally wants to bone Chloe. And as well, Chloe, like Max never really comes out as anything. Even when Chloe's joking about it, she doesn't say, well, you know, I am a big lesbo, lol, you know. Yeah, and none of them even ever came out. There's a nice kiss at the end between Chloe and Max on one of the paths, but that's it. There's also like a path where you can kiss Warren, which is weird because he kind of stalks you and has very little actually appealing to him, at least from my point of view. You can like literally see him like staring into Max's room at points when she can't see him, and he hangs out near her house. It's super creepy, really off-putting. And like, I get that he's a nice, friendly guy, but he's also a fucking stalker. But you know, that gets pushed as one of the main romances. Like you can go to the movies with him, and then not Stella, what's her name? Hot wife. I can't remember her name, but the woman with the drone gets pissy at you because she has a crush on him, and later on Stella dates him and you get upset about that. even though there's like no romantic build up, and I consistently rejected Warren throughout the playthrough. It was like, my choices matter, but she's always going to be upset about Warren dating someone else. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to do the LGBT stuff a bit better next time. But we'll just wait and see. And in terms of like racial diversity, they're pretty alright. They got like one or two around in Blackwell. Actually, well, I'd say like quite a few in Blackwell. You know, Stella, Daniel, the principal. I know there's more, but I can't remember them right now. And then outside of them, there's like the police officers and stuff. None of their roles really do much in the story, but that can kind of be said for like most of the characters. So it's not like they've like only done that to the people of colour characters. I mean, like, even people who are close to the storyline or close to Max and Chloe don't have that big an effect. Like like Frank could literally just be removed and we wouldn't be missing all that much. We'd be missing like some of the build up of Rachel's arc that kind of went nowhere, and some of the information for Nathan's habits and finding out about the dark room, but I'm still pretty sure we'd be able to get there without it. But then again, like, you know, obviously other characters do clearly need to be there. For like example, again, Max's pseudo soccer. Warren, he can't be removed without you missing out on something. Like, if he's removed from the story, you don't have access to the principal's office because he can't tell you how to make a bomb. And you'd also lose a way out of Chloe's death in the hands of Mr. Pretentious Cuntsack. I had a lot of issues with the controls in the game, but that is not the game's fault. That is actually mine, because the game says in the front menu to use a joystick. Joysticks are recommended. Joystick? No. Gamepad. Yeah, it's my fault because the game does tell you to use a gamepad, and it would be better with a gamepad. It's enhanced with a gamepad, but my ways to try and get one just didn't work. I couldn't get one to work on my computer. I couldn't find the wire to make my Xbox 360 one work on it. So I stupidly went with touchpad at first, which meant that it kept like rewinding when it didn't mean to, because there's not a proper definition between the two. And eventually I changed to mouse, which became a lot easier. Just get a mouse, even if you can't get a touchpad. Even if you can't get a gamepad, just get a mouse. Don't use a touchpad. It will just be so frustrating. I ended up in like this stupid glitch where it kept trying to get me to rewind, even though I wasn't telling it to rewind, and it told me to like fast forward and stuff, but it wouldn't let me do any of that because the game had glitched so badly, and I had to start again. And that was like in the first half an hour, you know. Yeah, and talking about glitches, there are a few that were very annoying and made progressing like completely impossible. I was stuck like at one point because we were investigating Nathan's room. There was scratches on the floor from where his couch had moved, and they're meant to light up, but they didn't at any point. I reloaded that episode so many times, played all the way through, and it just wouldn't. I thought it was like just completely missing something really obvious, but it wouldn't come up. You can see that in my gameplay as well. There's also a glitch where like when Max is in the dark room, and you're trying to warn David about Mark, his hand goes through like her head, like it completely clips through, and I have no idea why that would happen, but I guess it just kind of happens. And there's also like another point where the audio got really badly repetitive and repeating itself, just not really.
I'm on the guest list.
Nice to listen to whatsoever. I get that might have been, my computer isn't like designed for games. It's not. It's less than fantastic for it, and that's why like I'm not been playing bigger games, you know, that I would like to play, like Fallout 4 or that. I'm trying to stick to the smaller games, also I don't have the equipment to play the bigger ones. The music was pretty good in the game. I mean, I had to mute almost all of it for my playthrough on YouTube because, yeah, they didn't give you an option to like mute or do anything against copyrighted songs, which meant that I would end up getting like advertisement on my video. And although I'm not like, I don't think I should be making profit for other people's content. I don't monetize any of my videos at this point because I don't really think my like contribution at this point is good enough for you to wait for like a 10-minute advert that you sometimes get. It just makes no sense to me. And so I didn't want to put adverts on my video. I didn't want other people to put adverts on my video. And the first episode of the thing will have an advert on it because I didn't save my files when I was recording it. I would need to mute everything musical in that, which wouldn't be great. But yeah, the music itself was good, and the voice acting was pretty alright. But as time went on, there was like less voice actors and more characters, and there was like a conversation between two characters who were both voiced by the same actress, and the voice was not different enough. It kind of really took me out of it because, you know, I'm sitting listening to Max talk to Max, essentially. It was very strange, and I get that it might have just been like lower budgeting as time went on, or voice actors who wouldn't be able to return stuff, you know? I do like those voices, it's just they didn't have enough difference between them for me not to be distracted by it. The game is pretty much a point and click mystery game where you're trying to find the answer to some very important questions. And it evolves obviously as time goes on, but the puzzles were very scarce, which kind of worked out well for me because I'm really, really bad at puzzles. I just don't have like the right logic skills for that. Like, some just completely destroy the momentum for me. Like, when you're in the junkyard trying to find the bottles. I took so long to do that, and it was so frustrating, and then it ended up being in somewhere so dumb. And before that, I was like, yeah, let's go. I'm gonna keep going through this episode. It's gonna be so good. And then, fucking crashed entirely. The next puzzle, which was on the train tracks, was fine, but the bottle one just seems so cheap and just so artificially lengthening the story. I guess that's maybe why some of the later episodes felt like a bit shorter, because they weren't stuffed with random pointless quests. Like, why do we have to shoot bottle? Why are we shooting anything? We soon learn that if like Chloe isn't careful, she's gonna kill herself, because that's Chloe's like My Little Pony fucking spec. We're really good at taking the feedback about the bottle game, because they do have a laugh about it later, and the next time you have to do anything like that, it's way easier. But yeah, other than the bottles, the puzzles and solutions were like very clear if you had more than 2 brain cells, which is probably why I ended up going to a walkthrough or guide whilst doing a playthrough. I would have avoided that, but I just didn't get what I needed to do. I've got to admit that puzzles like aren't my strong point. I have a lot of trouble like just doing this like problem solving that games want you to do. I'm not really sure why. It's just my brain doesn't work like that. I guess it's probably because I was more into like platformers when I was younger, and racing games and The Sims. I never had to do a lot of like critical thinking, and I never got to learn the insane logic of video games until I was all ready. So yeah, my opinion on this part of the game is like completely personal. It can't be, well, it could be related to other people, but I don't expect like everyone else to feel the exact same as me with these puzzles. Maybe some people found them like really difficult, and other people found them like really, 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 really easy. And I was just left baffled. So overall, I really enjoyed the writing in this game for most of the game. The character interactions were always interesting, even if some, no matter what way you choose to talk to them, no matter what you say, lead to the exact same result. Even though our choices matter, apparently, and will affect the game. But I quickly found myself attached to like everyone. I loved Kate. I cared about Max. I wanted to fix Chloe. Warren was there. And hell, like I spent half the game hating Nathan. And then at one point he was getting more developed, and I wanted to look after him, and I wanted to protect him from the shit that he had been going through. I mean, he made shitty choices, but I believe that Nathan would be completely rehabilitatable. And yeah, I know that seems kind of like I'm sympathising with like a rapist, well, a possible rapist, probably a rapist. Like, that's the thing as well. Nathan is such a weird character because the writing's inconsistent. Sometimes he is an unrelenting asshole, and other times he's like, I didn't want to hurt anyone. And I get that he has a mental health condition, and that makes it a bit difficult to kind of, make sense of his thoughts, But, yeah. And also, for some reason, when I started liking him more, I started calling him Logan. Although I did call him Logan earlier in the game also. So, yeah. I don't even remember Logan's character that much. I know he was tall. In my playthrough, I did miss a lot of the side characters, like Dana and Logan and Daniel and Stella and those other people. And I think it was kind of because I was very focused on the main story. It would be something that would make the game way more replayable for me if I was not focusing on Chloe. Because I don't know, I don't play a lot of point and clicks, so I wasn't playing it like I should have been playing it. I wasn't investigating everything, I wasn't picking up everything, With Chloe, it was at first she was a bit hard to love, but the more vulnerable she became, the more real she became. And I found myself genuinely falling for her in a sort of, I must take care of you. She's so flawed. She's done a lot of unacceptable things, and it takes her a long time to start apologising for these things. Even then, she wasn't really called out enough for her bad behaviours. But based on how she took criticism from her parents and Max, I doubt she'd be able to take that criticism very well, so maybe everyone's kind of given up on calling her shit. I'm not going to pretend that Chloe is some perfect angel. She is very flawed. Just as much as Max or David or anyone else is. She isn't some innocent, precious victim. Max herself is really hard to judge because a lot of her choices come down to the player's choices. There are some things, though, that she does and says that you can't stop. There's always a sort of level of victim blaming when talking to Kate about what happened to her. There's always a sort of level of, oh, woe is me, when she gets very stressed out. And she starts the game very immature. Not in a negative way, just in that she's clearly a child. She's clearly a teenager still. She's only just standing on her own 2 feet, and she's focused on all the wrong things. And obviously this is where the game comes in and destroys everything about who she once was. She changes so much and grows so much. I mean, she's curious, mostly chipper at the start, doesn't have half the weight that comes with adulthood, and she ends up just getting everything piled up to her in 1 week. She gets faced with sexual abuse / rape situations. She gets faced with murder. She gets faced with someone who she looked up to and respected being a murdering sexual abuser. I know they said there was no sexual contact, but tying someone up in a BDSM fashion, I would count that as sexual abuse. Just saying. Especially if it's in their underwear and stuff. Max kind of strives for perfection a lot, and the game does like to show that as a flaw. It reminds the player at several different times that trying to be perfect can end very badly. I mean, it makes total sense that telling someone to be safe from being drugged leads them to being drugged. Right? The fuck? But I also remind you, doing nothing can make things even worse through the mini story about David spying on everyone and Miss Grant acting as if it's your fault the petition didn't win. I mean, I agree with her in some levels. You need as much signatures in these situations as possible. We need to show that people at large can make a difference. But I would understand after one conversation. She just keeps bringing up. It's super unprofessional. And it's just chill the fuck out. Max is not spying on anybody. Actually, Max is spying on a few people. But, okay. Max, I can't excuse that. And yeah, obviously, talking about Max, talking about Mark, talking about Nathan, we need to talk about Mark. Mark, pretentious ass Jefferson, means I will kind of also still be talking about Nathan as well, but, So, Mr. Jefferson then, not trying to sound cool when I say I got a weird vibe from this guy, from the start. His actions just came across as a bit off to me. There was just something weird about him. I also was being an asshole and I didn't like his beard, so I was just I hate you and your stupid fucking face. twice, even though he had done nothing to deserve it. Nothing. I guess I was being aware of some of the unfair power dynamics that happened between tutors and pupils, and seeing his actions not ensuring that that wouldn't happen. He didn't make sure that he was only having a professional relationship with his students. He kind of led Victoria and Max a bit, and it just made me very uncomfortable in one way. I mean, the writers do have to give you hints. They can't just say, "Oh my god, the whole time it was Samuel," because he had those 2 pictures of Rachel. They can't do that after focusing on Nathan and also giving you the choice to point at Mr. Jefferson. But as well, what I didn't like about that is no matter how much the players seem to be pointing at Mark, the writers would not let you point at Mark with Max a lot of the time, and would focus on things like Nathan. I know that Mark wasn't putting his name onto those, but it's still very strange that they never questioned the fact that Nathan would be I know that wasn't their thought, that these were really professional shots, but why would Nathan be using all of these things? We don't even see Nathan go to any class. We see him hanging about in Mark Jefferson's class, but we don't actually see him participating in any classwork. So why would he have this state-of-the-art thing if it's a subject that he's got, but we don't actually see him being that passionate about? It's just very strange. But yeah, no matter how much you distrusted Mark, Max was always a fangirl of him until he hurt her directly. I do think some of it is very, very forced misdirection, desperate for you to blame David at first when you see him taking pictures of Kate, and then see the memorial at the end when you see, when the principal mentions that the top door was unlocked and stuff, when you see him shouting at Kate. It really wants you to Nathan. It only gives you tiny little trickles of hints of Mark, and that kind of led me more to think that they were covering up too much and pushed me the opposite way from where they were intending me to go. And yeah, it becomes very obvious the difference between Mark and Nathan. Nathan is damaged and angry, and his actions are very, very bad. I'm not gonna excuse them, but he does have a mental condition which he needs treatment for. He could be rehabilitated. He just needs to actually go and get help. Whereas Mark is intentionally malicious constantly. The more you learn about him, the more you learn about Nathan, it's just completely clear. He isn't malicious. He's a very, very hurt, confused little boy with horrible urges. He's essentially the kid who burns the ants and then wonders why he's doing it and has no answers for himself. He needs support, and Jefferson kind of took advantage of that. And by kind of, I mean Jefferson entirely took advantage of that, and then continued to do so until he killed him. Jefferson is the only one who refers to him as sane, knows his behaviours are wrong, does nothing to change them, and is truly malicious. He knows what's going on with Kate and ensures her suffering keeps going for no apparent reason, on the fact that she's a little bit too up herself. He knows Max is close to finding him out, and he does nothing to direct her attention elsewhere, rather than actually stopping his negative actions until the heat dies down. Instead, his misdirections and his insistence on misbehaving leads him to be trapped in the act. And that kind of plays into my biggest issue in the game: the illusion of choice. Yes, this has been talked about with many games like Life is Strange, and Life is Strange itself so often is a very, 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 very dead beaten horse at this point, but I can't really talk about the story without talking about it, you know? The second half of the game just forces you into this one position. You get sort of drain-holed into those two endings. The situations that you end up in are all avoidable. The plot makes no sense and clearly is just there to keep pushing you towards it. Keep making sure that you end up at that lighthouse with Chloe at the end of the game, no matter what you do to get there. My problem starts as Chloe and Max rush to the cemetery? No, the junkyard, to protect Rachel's remains from being destroyed by Nathan. Firstly, we get no options with this. We have to go there. This is not our choices affecting anything. No matter what choice you make in the game, you're still going to end up there. No matter what. There's no reason to go. Why Max wouldn't argue against Chloe with this makes no sense to me. Why wouldn't Max also keep Victoria with her if she was worried that Victoria was going to be drugged? Like, I don't get it. As well, like, why on earth would Nathan destroy Rachel's remains? There is no concrete evidence linking him and Rachel, other than the photographs he took with her while she was overdosing. But Chloe and Max took no evidence of these pictures. They didn't take pictures of them on their phones, they didn't take the photos with them, they showed nobody, they didn't write it down, they didn't tell anyone. They kept it between themselves, and the pictures themselves were left in the bunker. There's no reason that Nathan would do this, and it is so frustrating that you're forced into yet another Chloe's death and Max's powers suddenly not working, because that's where the story wants you to go, even though you as a player can argue against that. Like, you should be able to argue against that. But another issue is that when she gets drugged, she can't use her powers, but then later on, whilst being drugged, her powers still work. It's the same drug. It's just been off for slightly longer. And yeah, we just play a very long and confusing game of the plotline is going to force you into the situation. We go back and forth between a different universe with Max. One point that gives me pure rage and makes me think how unbelievable. One point in this game that just gives me pure rage is the unbelievably stupid and unbelievable frustrating thing of an alternate future Max who had submitted the Everyday Heroes contest and won. Winning the contest meant that she was in San Francisco, and because of this complete contrivance of plot, Chloe yet again ends up dying for no good reason. So why is this frustrating to me? Well, let's start with this. In a game in which the whole mechanic is based around travelling back in time, we cannot go back in time and warn Chloe and the others of the immediate danger. We have to go all the way back and destroy her foe as we take it. Which means Mark isn't caught for no reason. All we'd have to do is to go back and not hand him the picture, and still message David about what happened. Why did we even enter in the first place? Why didn't we just leave it? Why did we have to enter the Everyday Heroes contest? Other than to stick it to the man. I mean, like, in the end, the choice is to destroy Arcadia Bay or destroy Chloe, but we couldn't go back in time and save Chloe, get as many of the people as we could out of Arcadia Bay, and also get Mark Jefferson arrested because the plot needs you not to do that. The writers don't want to do that. The writers want to go to one very specific place, and they will keep pushing that place until they get it. No matter what, they'll be like, oh, well, you did try other things and it didn't work out, but you didn't. The choices make no sense. And don't get me fucking started on, like, why did he burn her pictures? Like, I don't fucking get it. Then again, it is basically foreshadowed by the time skip where we went to try and save William. There are like so many solutions, so many easier ways, and instead we are shown the writers want William to be dead. It's the only real option. This game brags about your choices affecting everything, but anyone who chose to sacrifice the bay knows the writers did not want you to choose that. You get fobbed off with a much less developed and much less interesting end. Chloe was always meant to die. The writers decided so, and the player can't change that. You spend your whole game fighting against it, but there's no real change to that. Weird question though. In the AU where Chloe is paralysed by a car crash and Rachel's still dead, will Kate still be going to kill herself without your intervention? And like, obviously Chloe was meant to die by Nathan in your universe, but without your powers, she'd be dead. Same with Kate. So why is Kate's survival fine, but Chloe's isn't? Why does the world need to change that? I mean, like, you save Kate's life and nothing happens. You save Chloe's life and there are 2 fucking moons? Like, what? I'm going to stop whining at this point because this is a game that I do enjoy. It was a unique experience from start to finish, even if it was frustrating. And I'd love to play about in this world some more and get to know more characters by this writers. Maybe time will give us that. We just need to wait and see. Until then, you'll find me lurking in the fandom and enjoying anything where Chloe, Max and Kate are happy. Also, hopefully Joyce is happy. I really hope in the future less people try enjoying anything where Alyssa isn't pushed in a pool, hit with random shit, or soaked with water. If you want to check out the game, it's available on Steam, on Xbox One, and I'm pretty sure it's available on PS4. I don't know. I haven't looked up. Don't Nod did a really good job with this game. They just need to make it less obvious when your choices don't actually matter. Because, yeah, it's the exact same problem I have with The Wolf Among Us, and that's one of my favourite games ever. Like, I know that things can't be all hunky-dory, that you can't have 19 different endings unless you're some kind of Undertale god. Or other games with multiple endings. Like all those fighting games. The only games where your choices actually matter are fighting games. In a linear story like this, your choices are only going to be in a certain amount of different options. And you get like a wide open game like Skyrim, you have a bit more options, but there's still probably an ending story, just like Fallout 3. Although that ending was so awful. You do need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end of your story if you're going to have a story. So they couldn't just leave it going on forever and have you and Chloe spend the rest of your life investigating and solving murders, even if that is possibly one of the outcomes of you not killing her. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you in the next video.